I hope I'm doing this right. So if you are watching this, it's because I am live somewhere. Let me tell you what this training is going to be about. Let me tell you why this training matters. Man, this is so fascinating. And let me tell you what I need you to do with it. How to a let me do some take the center stage $1 million movement. All right, here we go. So this is so good. I'm so excited. All right. So if you're watching this live, it's because somehow you stumbled upon this. And I know that there is this magic. Oh, this is so exciting. I love it. Here we go. So I'm live on all these platforms. Let's see if I did this right. So the name of the game is Take Center Stage. Now, it's super easy for me to think about taking center stage, but it's a totally different phenomenon when you make a decision that the center stage actually is yours and it belongs to you. And not only does it belong to you, but it's actually belonged to you for a long time. You know, for the amount of time that you have spent, whether you're watching this live or you're catching this weeks, months, years, eons, decades from now, the narrative is not going to change. The stage has been waiting for you because it was made for you. The number one thing that I have seen over the last 5 years in building a worldwide movement, a worldwide brand, getting to generating a milli without an online funnel or a course or any of the hoopla is this narrative that you have to have a bunch of stuff in order to create something amazing. You actually don't. Not only do you not have to have a bunch of stuff, but you don't have to have a bunch of things. You don't even have to have a bunch of items. You don't have to have an amazing website. You don't have to have the largest team. You don't need to go buy a building. You don't need anything. You actually just need the stage. Now, let me tell you what the stage is. Okay. So for the person watching this and you're like, man, how am I watching this right now? Like, it's like, I want to define what the stage is and what the stage is not. The stage is not this big place where you're way far over there and you say to yourself, man, I'm going to climb the steps in the ladder and I'm going to get to the top and I'm going to be on stage. No, the stage is wherever you are and wherever you decide to speak. It is where you decide that that space, that place, that ear, that moment is something for you and you're gonna unapologetically go and claim it. You know, the truth of the matter is that I spent maybe 6, 7 years waiting for someone to give me the stage. I'm gonna ask you just to put the word stage in the chat. Wherever you are, put the word stage in the chat, send me the word stage or center stage, whatever it might be. I just need to make sure and be clear on who's here. Because what I know for sure is that there's an opportunity out there. And the opportunity dictates, that we have this space all around us. The question is like, what do we do with the space all around us? We want more from the universe, right? We want more respect from people. We want more respect from our friends and family. We want more respect from our coworkers. We want more respect for our employees. We want more respect from our customers and clients. But the question of the matter is like, do you really do the things? I know this is going to sound crazy, but are you spending your days and weeks as you're waiting and hoping for that respect? Are you asking for the respect, or are you letting it be clear and known to the world that the respect is already yours and you're here to claim it? I want you to actually put this in the chat for me. And if you're watching this on replay, I'm asking you to put #replay that you're here to take it. Now, there are 3 really specific stages that you have access to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For the person who is saying, man, I'm waiting for help, you know, for manna to listen. I'm waiting for manna to fall from the sky. And then at that point, I'm going to go and take said step. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen. You know, one of my biggest mistakes in getting to my first, in building a multi 7-figure business over a decade ago was thinking that I needed to have more things in order to go and make the money. I didn't. I actually had access to tools and resources 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but my limited thinking and the behavior and the traits of everybody around me limited me in my actions to just thinking about selling in my town, then in my city, in my region, or in my state. Actually, I can't even say state, in my region, and then my state. I was limited in my behavior and my actions because other people were limited in their behavior and actions. Now, I'm not frowning on a local business. There's a lot of value in a local business, but I want to be really honest. Like, man, what I had to sell, I could have sold around the world, but I was so limited in my thinking and thinking, okay, well, the business day is 8 to 5. No, the business day is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Can you just put 24/7 in the chat? The business day is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The business day is the most overlooked opportunity that we all have. We think that the business day is this 8 to 5 or 7 to 4 or 6 to 9. And I don't want to shoot that in the foot. I mean, there's some validity to that. But my greatest aha in moving over in the way I make money, how I own the stage, how I own myself, how I demand construction of my time is this truth that the business world is 24/7. Now, I want you to be clear. That doesn't mean I need to be 24/7, but it does mean that when it comes to me taking the stage, building a business, thinking about a movement, that I need to be absolutely clear that the world is open 24/7 and I don't need to limit myself to the region and space that I'm in. I don't have to limit myself to working 8 to 5. I prevented myself from taking the center stage because I spent so much time limiting myself, limiting where I could sell, limiting how we sold. And yes, we got to a milli, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I think about the year 2011, actually 2010. So in 2010, I moved to North Carolina and I started a business. Now I started a business in my 3rd bedroom at a townhome that I had rented. The bedroom was on. I had a 3-story home, and the business was in the 1st floor, and it was really haphazard. There was nothing special. I used to leave my house every day and go knock on doors. Then I left my house and went and I taught other people to go knock on doors. But the truth of the matter is, I say to myself all the time, man, I could have gotten so much further faster if I stopped limiting myself to the city I was in. So when 5 o'clock would come and businesses wouldn't open anymore and I couldn't knock on the door, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go home. I'm just gonna go home. But man, the truth of the matter is that every single person here, like if you can see me, if you can hear this, you have access to the greatest thing that has ever been invented. It's like, I want to say it's the World Wide Web, but I want to say it's like access lane. You have access to the whole world. You have access to the whole doggone world. The greatest mistake that I made was limiting myself to where I could sell and not thinking about the fact that there were other buying markets open. Right now, I don't care if right now, if it's 8 p.m. for you, 11 p.m. for you, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Man, there's 3 things I'm going to tell you. Number 1, in order to make money, you've got to go and take the center stage. And then you need to be clear that you're taking it, not asking for it. You're taking it, not asking for it. The second thing you need to do is be clear that the world is open 24/7 and you get the opportunity to curate the journey in which someone gets to access you. Number 3, I'm going to say, is that the greatest place that you could be ever is on your own stage. I'm going to ask you in the chat really quickly to put on my own stage. On your own stage. On your own stage. On your own stage. On your own stage. I spent weeks and days waiting for people to acknowledge me because I was like, man, I saw this entire business world. It was pretty awesome. But I was like, there's something wrong with this because there are people out there who are making $30,000 teaching other people how to make 150. I was like, does anybody else not see that there's something wrong with this industry? I don't even know this industry, but there's something wrong with this industry. If there are people who are making $30,000 teaching others how to make 150, I was like, guys, I don't even have to be the brightest one in the pack. I'm like, am I the only one? Can you just put 30K in the chat? If you know what I'm talking about or you've seen that type of a person, I beg you. I'm begging you to humor me. I'm begging you to humor me. Because the truth of the matter is that I for sure became so frustrated by watching this phenomenon of people making 30K teaching others how to make 150. Now, I was intimidated because I was like, man, well, these people have access and friends and family. They also have people who respect them. They have all these followers. They have all these cool articles on LinkedIn. And I was like, I don't have any of that stuff. Not only do I not have any of stuff, I don't even know how you make it. Like, think about what I'm saying. Not only do I not have the things that they had, but I was also like, oof, I don't even know how we would make it. And the truth of the matter is, I think every single time about like, why didn't I? Like, why was I reluctant to do anything more? I was reluctant to do anything more because I didn't think I could be anything more. For the person who's sitting and listening right now and saying, man, Tiffany, like, is it really just that simple? And the answer is yes. You don't even have to have more. You just have to be more. I thought that I needed to have more to take the center stage. And what I want you to know, what I want you to be in tune with, what I want you to just hear me is that you don't actually have to have more. You needed to be more. 2010, I say to myself all the time, like, I don't have a lot of regrets, but I definitely say if there was one thing that I could learn or go back and change was understanding that I had everything I needed to go and take more stages versus waiting. I'm going to ask you to put the word be more. So however you're hearing this, whatever you're listening to, like I'm asking you to put the word be more in the chat. I was like, man, I really thought to myself that I needed to actually go and have more. I didn't need to have anything. I just needed to be more. What did it mean to be more? It meant to use all of the resources that I had at this exact moment, in this exact fashion, and stop trying to use the resources that I had to be what other people wanted me to be. They wanted me to be more politically correct. They wanted me to fit in. They wanted me to wear a certain type of shoes. They wanted me to not show so much. They wanted me to cover up. They wanted me to not have my rolls extended. They wanted me to wear a certain type of, and it was like, guys, I can't do any of that stuff. In order to take the center stage, I have to take the center stage as myself. And the taking the center stage as myself, I do say these words. I do look like this. This is how I dress. I do like that chain. I absolutely want those lips. I want these heels. No, I don't like 3-inch. I need 4. Now, it was the being more that baffled me because I was like, man, I could have taken the center stage all this time. The internet is open 24/7. And the truth of the matter is that I don't care where you have a voice, but in today's market, you need to have a voice. Everybody should have a voice, a place where they're distributing their story, their message, their frustration, their angers, their wins, their joys somewhere on the internet. But the truth is that you really, truly need to have a place where you are stumble uponable. Let me tell you, a platform is not so easy stumble uponable. Facebook is not an easy stumble uponable place. So when I started, I'm going to walk you through like what platforms did I use and how did I do it. But when I started a really long time ago, I was like, man, no one's really given me the opportunity to be more. Like, no one's really given me the opportunity not to be more, to have a bigger voice, to get on stage. And I really felt intimidated by a lot of stuff I was hearing and seeing. So in order for me to move away from that intimidation, I started having to be clear. I really needed to be clear with myself that, man, that the stage may not come for me. And I needed to take the stage myself. And that I needed to create my own stage. And I needed to create my own stage wherever I was. And how did I create my stage? By standing tall and unapologetically as I told my story. Now, everybody here listening has a story. And your story in the middle of it has something very specific. So it has a beginning, middle, and end. But right between the middle and the end, you have something called a bridge. Now, the bridge in business is the thing that I started having. I'm going to ask you to put the word bridge. I'm going to ask you to have the word bridge, to put the word bridge. A bridge, what it does, so good. So a bridge, what it does is it basically says to the person who's listening, yes, I'm going to ask you, yeah, totally. Put the word bridge in the chat. So a bridge, what it does is it creates the walkway in between the problem that you had for yourself, and it creates the the bridge, the walkway from where the problem was in your story. So stay with me, okay? So wherever the problem is in your story or was in your story, and it walks you through to your win, your outcome, the solution. The reason why the bridge is so important is because the bridge is what you did and how you did it. Basically, you then turn that into a product, a service, an item, something that can be consumed or bought by the person. In business, the reason why we need a bridge is because the bridge says, this is how we did it, or this is what I did, or whatever it might be. Now, I know that it's really easy. Someone sent me a note and said, you should go live on Instagram. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that stuff, people. But I'll tell you this, like, I know for a fact that when I really thought of telling my story, right? When I thought about telling my story, like when I really, really thought about telling my story, and I thought about leveraging my story, and I thought about making my story, like the it thing, I was very intimidated because every other person I knew was like, yeah, but Tiffany, if you tell your story in this way, like if you tell your story in this way, you win. And I was like, I can't tell my story in this way. I have to tell my story as it actually honestly unfolded. Now, Tiffany, if you tell your story in that way, you're going to miss the people who want to buy it. I'm like, will I really miss the people who want to buy? Or will I just be able to connect with them and show them a level of impact that just doesn't work or exist in the market today? Now, truth be told, there's this really interesting part when it comes to telling your story. Without a bridge, you don't really have the opportunity to tell the person, like, this is why you should trust me. This is why I'm necessary. This is why I'm needed. I want you to think of your bridge as your way of extending your hand to somebody and saying, hey, this is why you should trust me. If you have a way for you to right now say to somebody in the world or in business, like, hey, this is why you should trust me. It makes it so easy for you to gain new friends, for you to gain new followers. It makes it so easy for you to connect with audiences who didn't know you. It makes it so easy for you to extend your hand to JV partners, to people who want to. Everybody here has these three things. Everybody here has a story. Everybody here has a movement. Everybody here has a business. Everybody here has what I call a high ticket offer, but more importantly, they have a way in which they can impact the world right now. They have a way in which they can impact the world right now. So the greatest idea out there is that there's one key way to be on stage. Now, when I started speaking and teaching, I really didn't understand how to get on stage. I did a hybrid of what's called selling from the stage and giving keynotes. Keynotes were a really big part of how I built my business. And what I did is I created one really simple talk. Now, in this talk, my talk had a couple of components. My talk really was fixated on a specialty item, a specialty thing that I had, like something very specific that I knew how to do. For me, the specific thing was how to sell, right? Or how to market. So I really had a really simple talk that was always only 20 minutes long and it had the ability to be 10 minutes. Okay, so you want to have a talk, and this talk, let me back up a little bit to make sense. So you want to have a talk, a signature talk, and a talk basically takes someone who's out there and allows you to extend your hand like this, and then you bring them in. Now, in this talk, what I did is I needed to make sure that the talk had these three specific things. So, and everybody can do this tomorrow. So the talk had the ability to be, and I want you to write this down. So if you're taking notes, this would be a really great note to take. Everybody should have a keynote talk or some type of a talk that if someone gave them the opportunity to get on stage and go and speak and go and do said thing, they could do it without batting an eye. So the first thing that they would do is they would have a talk that says that is 20 minutes. So that's the first. 20 minutes, a 20-minute talk. Now, during this training, I'm actually going to break down what the mechanics of a great talk are, and I'm going to extend an invitation for you to come hang out with us and spend time in what's called the stage event, where I break down just building stages and building your own stage and dominating on your own stage. But stay with me. So the very first talk that I had was 20 minutes long. Okay. The 20 minutes long, I then broke it down to make sure that I could have a second type of a talk that was 10 minutes that was ready to go. Then I had the next opportunity that people give you all the time. So the most common is 20. The second is 10. The third was roughly about 3 minutes. And then the last was 60 seconds or under 60 seconds. Those are the types of talks that you can have. Now, when I started giving this talk, I realized that I was in this crazy place where I was constantly getting the opportunity to speak for 20 minutes. Now, what most people do is they begin talking, whether it's on camera like this, or they get the opportunity to be on stage, and then they mess it up because they just keep talking and talking and talking, but then they talk until the end. Like they talk until you can't talk no more. That's no good. What is good is talking and then leaving room for you to tell me or tell the audience what you want the next step to be, okay? What you want the next step to be. Every time someone asks me, well, Tiffany, how did you build Do the Damn Thing Nation? It's really simple. I got on stage. I physically went and got on stage, even though I was like, as a speaker, as a leader, by myself, I went and I mastered the 20-minute keynote. That I probably gave 50 of those in year one, if not more. And where did I go and speak? Every and anywhere someone gave me the opportunity. Everybody here has a keynote in them. Now, the mechanics of the keynote go like this. So the first thing that you have to have like this talk, right? And you want to, because it's like, you'll get the opportunity to talk. And regardless of whether you're really good on stage or you're great or you're not so great or you're sort of great, I want you to be clear that you can still meet all objectives. You could still get someone to take action. You can still get to the next place. But there has to be a process and a science behind it. Now, the process and the science dictates this, that in the beginning of my talk, I'm giving my story. The first 15%, maybe 20% needs to be your story. So if I were doing 20 minutes, the first 3, maybe 4 minutes is about my story and the problem that I had in my story. Okay? I want you to hear me. If I have a 20-minute talk, 3 to maybe 5 minutes or so is going to be about my story and the problem in my story. The number one challenge and thing that I see with people who go and speak and they get on stage is they just start heading right into the solution. And they're like, man, I am going to the solution because the solution is what we need to talk about. And the solution is what the world needs. And it's like, no, don't talk about the solution. Go back to the problem. Talk back to the problem. Like, if you can talk back to the problem, you can do just about anything. So the problem in the story needs to be percentage-wise about 20%, 5 minutes. Stay with me. This is crazy. Because it's like, really? Are you serious right now? So are you saying that if we had a 3-minute talk, 5 minutes of it is going to be in the problem? Yes. The expert talks about the problem. Can you put that in the chat real quick as I sit? Put that in the chat real quick, for sure. The expert talks about the problem. 3 to 4 minutes at a minimum, but ideally it's 5 minutes. The expert talks about the problem, but they talk about the problem like this. They don't ever talk about the solution. They just talk about the problem. They hang out in the problem. They go to the right of the problem. They talk about it even more. They talk about it more. And they talk about it to the point where it's like, oh my gosh. Because the expert understands the problem. The expert talks about the problem. What you want when you open your mouth is for people to believe that you're the expert. And you mess around and you keep opening your mouth and you're the general practitioner. You're just a facilitator. You're going to make facilitator money. You're going to make facilitator money. You're going to make facilitator money. And then you're going to be mad. And then you're going to wonder, well, why am I making all this facilitator money? It's because every 2 seconds you're showing up as a facilitator. You cannot make, you lost audio over here? Got it. So you cannot make, how do I explain this? Like, you cannot make expert money. We'll call this part 1 of center stage. We'll do it to part 2. Thank you so much. So you cannot make expert money with facilitator habits. I'm sorry. You cannot make expert money with facilitator habits. You cannot make expert money with facilitator habits. I'm going to say that a few more times. I need to make sure you hear mama. I need to make sure that you hear me. Yes, you cannot, you cannot, you cannot, you cannot. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You cannot make expert money with facilitator habits. You need to be the expert. And what the expert does is the expert takes curated time and they're hyper focused on the problem. Listen, the expert is focused on the problem. As crazy as it sounds, this is the most overlooked area in business. But I want you to think about, like, does anyone remember Carlton Sheets back in the day? Or you know what? Forget that. Forget Carlton Sheets. We're not even going to bring Carlton. If I can get a like, if you know who Carlton Sheets are, because here's the truth. The expert in the market, they 100%, they understand and they know the problem. Yes, they know the solution, but I know this is going to sound crazy. If you really want to get to a milli, if you're like, Tiffany, I'm going to close 100K. I'm Tiffany, I'm going to build a team. Tiffany, I'm going to go around the world. I'm going to do live events. I don't care what you're trying to do. I'm telling you right now, but I'm not telling you because of the top of my head. Yes, I built a multiple 7-figure business before, but then as a Black woman, I then left that space, came into this industry where no one really wanted me or liked me, and I built a brand and a business that is worldwide all over again. And I'm proud of it. I'm not proud of it because we're perfect, but I am proud of it because we built it from the ground up. And I'm proud of it because everything I teach is everything that I've actually done and I continue to do every day in my business. And more importantly, because I know that it works. And I know for a fact that if you can pace the floor with it, then it'll see you through. Because every time that I turned around in 2011 or 2010, 11, when I came into this industry, I was like, Tiffany, you need to do all this stuff. You need to have a funnel. You need to get yourself together. You need to blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of technology. I can't even wrap my head around what you're talking about. I'm not old, but I definitely was like, this is too much technology for me. This is too much pieces for me. This is too complicated. And so I realized that there was a moment where I was waiting for the stage to be handed to me because I was like, I know stuff. I'm the expert. And I wasn't the best, but I definitely, like, it's not about me being the best compared to other people. I just knew that I knew my stuff. And I was like, you know what? I may not know everything, but I doggone it, I know exactly how to build a 7-figure business. I also know how to make money. I definitely know how to put 6 figures in the bank. Like, I knew how to do my stuff. But I was waiting like this. I was like waiting on the sidelines for people to acknowledge me, for people to not appreciate me, but just acknowledge me. And I waited forever and a day. And I was like, oh my gosh, you people are not coming for me. Oh, and then I learned the next principle. I was like, no one's going to save me. Listen, let me just say this. I don't care where you are or what you're doing. I don't care what you're doing. That's my attempt to, like, make sure you got it. Like, I don't care where you are or what you're doing. I want you to make this clear. Nobody's coming to save you. If you can do me a favor and put that in the chat with your name in it. Like, no one, I had to look in the mirror and be like, listen, no one's coming to save you, Tiffany. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to save you. When I looked at my situation, I looked at what I wanted to accomplish. I looked at what was in front of me. I literally was like this. I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second. Did you just say no one's coming to save me? No one's coming to save you. I have to emphasize that because I don't want this to fall on deaf ears. I don't want you to hear me and go, oh, that was so cute. I literally had to look in the mirror. I looked in the mirror this year. I promise you, I looked at my team. I looked at things that I was trying to accomplish. And I was like, Tiffany, listen to me. Let me tell you all over again, girl, nobody is coming to save you. And this was not a matter of me making a decision to go do it myself. This was me making a decision to own my own value in the midst of everybody else who was devaluing me. In 2010, the market was devaluing me. And I say devaluing because I was Black and I'm a woman. And my knowledge wasn't typical, I guess. I don't know. But I bought out businesses. I sold my company. I built a multiple 7. I had a brick and mortar business. My business partners were Xerox Corporation and Hewlett Packard. So for me, it was like, no, I don't know about Instagram and Facebook and all that other stuff. And yes, I'm sure that's valuable, but acquisitions, hiring, company culture, sales and marketing. And then everybody would look at me like, but you're Black and you're a woman. And where's your college degree? And I'd be like, Well, I don't have a college degree. And they'd be like, maybe next year. Let's see. Let's watch you grow a little bit. Let's see what you're made of. And I'd be like, you don't need to wait what I'm made of. You don't need to wait to over there. Are you trying to wait to over there to decide whether or not I'm valuable or whether or not I know my stuff? So that's where the principle of you have to take the stage was born. Because that year I was like, whoa, there's two things I got. I've got my story and I've got my factual experience. Now, your story, the reason why it's so important and why I am hyper focused in our company and do the Doggone Thing Nation is because I said to myself this truth. Once I experience something, it becomes a fact. Once I experience, listen, I want everyone you to hear me, fam, from me to you. Once you experience something, it becomes a fact. You experience something, it becomes a fact. It's no longer an. So what I had in front of me was a bunch of people who had access to stages, and I was responding to their opinions. I was feeling down about their opinions. I was feeling frustrated about their opinions about my knowledge. But one day I was like, wait, hold on. Let me just wrap this up for everybody right quick. I was like, wait a second. I literally was like, wait. I was like, wait a doggone second. No joke. I was like, wait a second. I don't need your opinions. When I looked at people who had these stages, I was like, I don't need your opinion. I don't need your opinion. I sure as hell don't need your opinion. And I was like, what am I waiting for all your opinions for? I don't need your opinions. I don't need none of your opinions. Because the fact is, I built, what are you talking about? A 7-figure business? Well, I built one. I didn't have a course. I didn't have an online funnel. I didn't have any of that stuff, actually. Now, what did that mean? That means that in the fact of my experience of what I had accomplished, if I had waited for other people to validate me, like other people to go, yep, Tiffany, that's right. Yep, Tiffany, that works. Yes, Tiffany, that's the it. Then I would have waited all day. I would have waited all day and all night. The truth of the matter is that I had to make a decision myself that I was enough and that I had everything I need to stand right next to anybody who challenged me. That's one of the hardest, most toughest decisions that I made, to just trust myself. I think the entire moment, like this entire segment that we just went through about how do you take the center stage, that's exactly right. I would still be waiting. You're exactly right. I would be waiting and waiting patiently. Now, I don't want anyone to think that when you take the center stage, the goal is to move other people out of the way. No, I could care less about who's standing there. We just need to be clear that I'm standing there. We also need to be clear that I'm going to own this stage. We also need to be clear that not only do I have value, but I have the number one thing that I need. My story. I'm going to ask you really quickly in the chat, just plug in the word my story. I want you to hear me. I want to make sure you hear me. I want to make sure we're on the same page. It's your story. Your story is the greatest asset that you have. And if you're willing to just entertain that it has uncontrollable value, man, like you'll put yourself into places that one could only dream of. Sometimes I look at some of the things that we've accomplished and I'm like, man, if I had waited for someone to come and give me the stage, if I had waited for someone to validate me or acknowledge me, if I had waited for something else, I'd be waiting forever. Today, as I look at, we have 9+ team members. We have a handful of studios across the country. I get the luxury of living in multiple places. I also have the freedom to make decisions for my life, and I've made so many decisions pan and post pan, and I'm like, man, like I would have never been able to do it if I didn't hold on to my story and if I didn't have the confidence behind the fact that my story is a fact and it's not anyone's opinions. Because the truth is that there are so many people who have given me their opinions about my story, but it's like, oh, but I don't have time to manage your insecurities. And at the end of the day, your story don't really matter. Woo, that part. Listen, at the end of the day, I don't know how to tell you this, but your story doesn't matter. Look, this is Miami here. This is what happens when you're from Miami. Listen, I don't know how to tell you, but your story doesn't really matter. I mean, your story doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your story does. My story allowed me the confidence to start applying for bigger stages. My story allowed me the confidence to go and have larger conversations. My story allowed me the confidence to go and hang out in areas where there were people who were millionaires and billionaires and men and to still use my story as the barometer. Now, a little while ago, I talked about the fact that, that the world is open 24 hours a day. One of the things, so I'm going to tell you one of the things that I wish I had done sooner. When I started building and tell my story, and really quickly for someone, there is, if you, I'm going to do this here on this thread. We're not going to put this in the notes. If you're watching this and you want to come and take one of the virtual seats, whether it's now or you see this in the future, for the stage. That is 3 days of me teaching for 20 plus hours on how to tell your story, what to do with it once you master telling it, and how to build a movement. If you put in the checkout, I think it's, I hope they're going to kill me if I do this, family seat, all caps, I think it brings down the ticket to like under $100, which is kind of crazy. For us, you know, that's a huge deal. So I'm just going to put that out there. If you're like, Tiffany, I want to go deep, send me a DM right now, for sure. If you're watching this on replay or live or some other platform, totally send me a DM. So the number one thing, so let me talk through the couple of things I wish I had done differently. Number one thing I wish I had done differently. Can someone put in the chat for me, www.thestageevent.com? One of the things I wish I had done differently early on is I wish I had started, when I started telling my story. So social media is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which makes it a crazy viable way for you to begin to build your business. I don't want to say made the mistake because I needed to practice and I needed to get comfortable, but I headed to Facebook. And Facebook, I had never really used it back then, and I thought it was everything. But the truth of the matter is that I had to learn very quickly that Facebook had a lot of nuances and pieces with it. Number one thing I wish I had done, I wish I had not used Facebook as the primary source for me developing my voice. I wish that I had turned to a stumble uponable platform. Okay, I want you to put the word platform in the chat. I wish I had turned to a stumble uponable platform. A stumble uponable platform. Because if I had gone to a stumble uponable platform, I would have built a different type of an audience faster. But because I was hyper-focused on the platform that I thought was the most viable, I don't want to say I shot myself in the foot, but think about it. Facebook is a closed network. It's a closed arena. It's a place that's like this, which means that, man, like if I could just be willing to be not in a closed environment, but in a more open environment where people can stumble upon me, then I have a really good chance of winning. And when I say winning, I mean building an audience, which is step number one, moving products and services, and then more importantly, being able to connect with people around the world who needed me. One of the most things that I've loved the most, I think one of the things I've loved the most is hanging out with people who've needed me, sure, but really it's actually just finding my family members. Like the truth of the matter is that I hands down will tell you that the greatest thing that I've done for myself is master not only telling my story, but finding my family members. My life is so rich today. Our team is so rich. I just spent the day with one of our team members who flew in for a couple of hours so we could work on a project, and he's flown out. And I'm like, man, like, but every second with him was like this. It was so good. And I'm like, man, I get to work with you all the time. Then I got to talk to our operations manager right before I got on. Then I got to talk to one of our community members. And I'm like, my life is so rich because I talk to myself. I talk to people who share my heart. That means when I have these grand ideas, these these things I want to accomplish, I want to move here, left, right. I want to do this, that, and the other. I'm so dialed in because I don't have to re-explain myself. I don't have to educate my team. I just go, man, this is what I'd like to do. And because their heart matches mine, it makes what we build so much better. If I showed you what we worked on today, the number one thing I wish I had done was not use Facebook as my primary source. I wish I had used other platforms. My first would be YouTube. My second, TikTok didn't exist. But if I had to pick a second, it'd be TikTok. My third, I wish I had spent my time on Instagram. Hands down. If there was going to be a fourth, LinkedIn. Facebook would have been last. Everybody today has a Facebook group. Facebook groups are good. And if you're going to use Facebook, it's definitely a place to, to put down your thoughts and your feelings and your ideas around your business. But the truth of the matter is that, Facebook groups are also a very closed environment. and they can have a lot of validity. Our Facebook group is primarily for our community. Yes, do we teach some things in there? Sure, but we use it as a distribution channel for our community versus like a marketing play. And why? Because our team doesn't really enjoy Facebook groups like that. It's really simple. We're not like excited at night about Facebook groups. So will the stage training September 19th through 20th teach also copy? Yes, it will be. Not will be. Yes, we have an entire segment on how do you create effective copy. Yes, because it's going to go through language. We actually have an entire section, almost half a day, on how do you build your brand. Copy is no more than you taking your brand and your story and distributing it through words. Every email that comes out from our company, we write it. I write it. I still write a lot of our copy, not the majority of it. And the reason why is because at this point, I've mastered it because I know my voice. I know how to distribute my story. But today I can also confidently tell you we've probably taught a handful of good people a lot of people how to their stories, but how to also tell my story through words. So the answer is yes. I don't know how long this will last, but I'll tell you for sure, if you've gotten this far, you should highly encourage. So one of two things, you should be easier. Well, if you should take the speaker ticket, that's another conversation. But if you put the word family seat inside of the checkout, it'll bring down your ticket to some crazy thing. But yes, absolutely. I think everybody should head to the stage. It is my favorite event, and we have stopped at nothing for this one. It is not it is so different than anything you've ever seen on camera. That's all I'm going to say. I can't say anything else. It's going to be nothing short of amazing. If this has been valuable so far and you're like, Tiffany, you said something that was useful, you are not a waste of time, can you please do me a favor and put in the chat what is the one thought or concept or feeling or emotion that you're like, got it. Tell me what the one thing is that you're like, oh, I get that. Tell me what the item is that you're like, makes perfect sense. I definitely want to know like where, who, what, and how, like you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And why? Because it'll help me figure out what we need to do next. How to help you more. What to do more of. How do we serve you at a higher level? How do we change the narrative for you? How do we help you do the damn thing faster? Because if I can help you do the damn thing faster, you win. If I could help you tell your story faster, you win. What is the number one thing that you're like, oh, my one thing? Oh, you said that, Tiffany, hit home. Yeah, entertain me. I've spent 40 minutes in teaching you what I know. There's been no charge for this. So I want to know what it is. I want to know what it is. No one is going to save you. I love that. No one is going to save you. Yes, this is happening. I'm 100% fanning myself. No one is going to save you. Yeah, I'm fanning myself. I know, I'm human. I know someone's like, what are you fanning? I am fanning myself. I'm a human. Is that okay to be human? I'm just human. I'm just human. Yes, so for sure, 100%. No one's coming to save you. Once I got that principle under my belt, everything was so much easier. Oh, everything was so much easier. Everything was so much more delicious. Every step that I made, every new move, things I tried, they were so much easier. Your story is a fact and it's no one's opinion for sure. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you're okay with me fanning? I know. Someone's like, oh, I can't, like, we lost somebody. Someone's like, I can't believe she's doing that on camera. I am, because I'm human. You know, I love seeing my peers. Yes, your story finds for family, but it finds your friends. It finds your friends. It finds your closest people. It finds your employees. I'm living proof of it. And now that I'm living proof of it. I don't just tell my story, but now I live in my story and I walk in my story. And my story's in front of me. And it's the forefront of our hiring process. It's the forefront of our events. It's the forefront of just about everything we do, our trainings. Yes. I love it. Trina's listen, she's like, it's hot over here. We have a frost warning. Yes, it is hot. I am hot, 100%. So in that, I'm going to say this. One, yes, should you come and join us at the stage? Yes, you should, 100%. DM me or whatever it might be, 100%. But don't take too long to decide. I mean, whatever the code is that I just gave you, Like it's gonna make life so easy, but it shouldn't be too much of a thought. Second thing I'm gonna say is if you haven't liked this or shared it, I'm gonna ask you to do so for sure. Um, you lost people in the past year that you thought were family. Yeah, you thought that they were family because you were part of yourself. The moment you begin to be all of yourself, then people show their colors. And more importantly, they're not comfortable with the truth. You know how many people just don't like the truth? They shy away from the truth. They want nothing to do with the truth. They move away from the truth. They run from the truth. And it's like, yeah, we can all build this lie game. Tiffany Largie's not into the lie game. That should keep me out of that. So for me, it's like, yeah, I started to go through the truth, and it made people uncomfortable. But in the same breath, it also brought so many people closer. It also, I don't even want to say it brought people closer because some of these people were just never there. So it allowed me to put up my light. Let me close with this. So it allowed me to put up my light. And if you can think about the context of what a light does is it illuminates an area that's dark. And things that are light can't shine in the darkness. And in this aspect, I say to you that your light can't shine in the darkness. You have to step into the light. Like, you have to step into the light. But you also have to be clear that nothing bright can shine in the dark. Like, I really have to emphasize this. The dark is you managing other people's insecurities until the point where you don't feel like telling your story, you don't want to, or you just don't do it because you're like, man, this is going to be bad if I do. The darkness is you playing a role with yourself where you're like, you know what? I'm going to do some. I'm going to share some, but I'm not going to share all. In order for us to help other people, or in order for us to build something strong, it's so much easier if you just share it all. And what's all? The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So let me just say this. I don't know where you are right now in your journey. I'm thrilled that I've had the luxury of just spending this time, and I'm really grateful that you listened as long as you have. I want to say this transparently. If you have listened to this and you're like, man, like if you've listened to this, that was my darkness and ex-husband. Yep. I can't wait to hear more of that. So let me ask you this. Are you willing? So how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I serve you? How can I help you be more? How can I help you do more? How can I help you accomplish more? How can I help you? Let's make it an all-nighter. Oh, I so love you. She's like, no, let's not go. She's like, I'm not done talking. So if you've ever wanted an easy way to learn how to tell your story, the stage is a great place. I'm thinking of doing an all-nighter soon. Anyone, listen, I'm thinking of doing a 24-hour live stream. I just have to say that on this. It's like, you remember back in the day where they had like the telephones and you'd call in and What do you think about that? Is that crazy? Does that make you feel crazy when I say that? Like, I think I could so 100% see a 24-hour game. Can anyone else see that? I think that listen, you would be there. I'm actually thinking of doing it. Let me set a date for it. You know what? I'm going to do it. What do we have to lose? I think I'm going to do it. So could you send me an email right now, Tiffany, I'm in? I'm dead serious. Or a DM. Could you send me a DM? I'm dead serious. I'm going to do it. I've talked about it for so long that I'm like, why not? Like, what do we have to lose? We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So we had an event that was taking place on the 12th, which is a Sunday, and it's not taking place anymore for a client. So I think I'm going to do it Sunday the 12th. I'm going to, can we do it? Is a Sunday a good time, or is Friday a good time? What do you think? Can I have a little bit of a vote? What's better, Sunday or Friday? I think a Friday night could be fun. So listen, what you do is you shine your light. And when you shine this light, right? So this is your story. You put your story out there into the world. You shine this thing. You shine this thing goes so flipping bright that people start to go, hey, what is that? Hey, what is that? What is that over there? Ho, what is that? What is that? And it's you. Simple. It's you. Boom, it's you. They're like, what is that? What is that? It's you. And you go, you know what? This is me. This is me. And the beauty of that, listen, you go like this. And then they're like, oh, what's that over there? And you're like, that's me, mother flipper. And then they're like, oh, but here's the truth. They can't help but notice you. They can't help but notice you. They cannot help but notice you. Building a business is the essence of you being noticed and you not being ignored. You not being ignored. You know what? Listen to me. I will not be ignored. You know, I need that in the chat right now. I think I'm going to make this a Friday night. I think I'm going to start drinking early. I think I'm going to get my hair up. I'm going to get pretty for everybody. I think I'm going to make a thing out of this. You game? I'm dead serious. I think it's crazy, but I don't think I'm going to be here. I think I'm going to be in cameras and studio. I think I'm going to have people roll through. I think we're going to make this like a 12-hour stream or something crazy. 6 hours, 10, I don't know, but it's going to be a party. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good. Oh my gosh, or at least 3 hours. I love it. My vote, Comic Expo, got it? Heard you? I will not be ignored. I got tired of being ignored, people. It's just that simple. I was like, you will not ignore me. You will not ignore me. That's actually it. You know what? Let me just sit right there. You will not ignore me because I got my story. My story, let me shine the light for you right quick. You will not ignore me. You know what? If there was ever a sentence or a statement that you needed to adopt or put inside of your heart and tuck it in right here, well, your heart, we're going to believe your heart's here. I know it's here. I will not be ignored. I will not be ignored. That's actually how I built all this. I was like, I will not be ignored. First of all, I was like, I will not be ignored again. But then second of all, I was like, I will not be ignored. You will not ignore me. You will not ignore me. And the reason why this became so important, so that someone stupid doesn't take this out of context. There are people I need to help. I need to go help the people because you're not actually helping them. You're selling to them. For me, it was like, listen, people, you're selling to them. You're not helping them. You're selling to them. You're not selling and helping. You're selling and help-ish. You give them a little something, something, but you don't give them all of it. You definitely don't give them all of you. You definitely don't give them all of you. You definitely don't give them all of you. Oh, but Tiffany, you know, year 2 in running this company, I remember that there was a time in which I had a handful of people who would tell me, but Tiffany, you know, like you're going to run empty. You can't really do it like that. It needs to be something different because people are going to run you dry. And I was like, really? Are people going to really run me dry? Here I stand today and I'm like, people don't run me dry. The half-bakedness of the people who are just selling and not actually helping, they run me dry. The free-for-all of between church and personal development of people just not caring about the humans and they're more concerned on what they can get from the humans that are weaker than them. No, that's gross. I'm going to tell you, year 2, every time I watched, not every time, it's only maybe two times, I was in a room to speak, not my stage, not my audience, and there was someone who had an event and they were comfortable with telling that 80-year-old woman that she needed to make a $25,000 investment in order for her to secure her legacy for her coaching. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? Are you telling that 83-year-old woman that the only way for her to accomplish a legacy is for her to spend $25,000? What are you talking about? You're a criminal. I felt so bad watching that stuff. That's actually how I got angrier. So let me tell you how you begin to tell your story and how you begin to build a movement, okay? For those of you coming to the stage, please, please, please let me know by telling me the word stage. But the truth is that I just got angry. I got sick and tired of listening to people who just didn't care. I got sick and tired of listening to people who were just feeding their own pocket. I got sick and tired of people who were empty inside, selling to people. I got sick and tired. And at first, you know, I remember the first time I sent this to one of my friends, and he was like, it's a big guy, multimillionaire. And he was like, Tiffany, are you sure you want to walk down this road? And I was like, I don't feel like I have a choice. I don't feel like I have a choice. I feel like I have to walk down this road because if I don't, who will? But Tiffany, they have bigger stages, they have bigger platforms, they have bigger names, they have all these bigger things, bigger buildings, they have more wealth, they have more lawyers. And I'd be like, okay, I hear you and I understand it. But I also felt like it doesn't matter how big they are. I hope that someone in this life will fight to me until the end. And it's like for my avatar, for me, that's what we needed. We just needed to know that someone was in it, like they were in it, like come a blazing, like they were ready to just ride or die. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's actually what we needed. We needed to know that we mattered enough that someone was willing to put themselves on the line. So that year I made a commitment. I was like, well, if no one else will, I will. And then on the other side of it, I was like, I'm going to be the ride or die for everybody. Tiffany, you can't do that. Like hell, I can't. For whatever reason, God gave me the capacity to care and love a lot of people at the same time. And I have so much in me that it's easy for me to share what I have because I'm not holding anything back. I'm not curating any of it. I'm not manipulating any of it. But then the truth of the matter is like, they just need to know that I'm in their corner, but they can't hear me say, I'm in your corner. No, they couldn't hear that. They needed to hear me call out the foolishness in my industry. They needed to hear me put my reputation on the line. You know how many people hated me year 1, year 2? Oh my gosh, that list is so long. I got haters for decades. And if you're one of my haters watching this in the coaching industry, I'm just going to say shame on you. That's the only statement I have for you, like period. And the greatest part about this moment is that we both have to meet our maker. When this whole life game is over, we both have to meet our maker. We both have to answer. We both have to answer to the maker and say, what did we do? Period. And you can say all the stuff you want to do. Listen, the truth of the matter is that I made a decision. I was like, you know what? Flip. Like, even if I'm standing alone, that's 5 years ago, though. I mean, we're almost 6, 7 years in the game. Maybe 7 years in the game. 14, 6, 2, we're going on year 7. I was like, I'll stand alone. I'm good. I'll stand alone and I'll stand alone and I'm still going to call you out because this stuff is wrong. Listen, I always hear, don't burn your bridges. Let's burn the bridge that bound us in the first place. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I was like, I don't burn my bridges. I don't need that bridge. That bridge leads to everything I don't want. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to sell that. I don't want to build that. I don't want to look like that. I definitely don't want to smell like that. Absolutely. They can burn it all. Burn every last piece of it. But Tiffany, well, what are you going to do if you're on an island by myself? I'm okay. I know how to build. Absolutely. And the people who need me, they will find me. And it's not because I'm perfect. Because God knows that's not the card I'm going to hold for everybody. Not at all. But I'm going to get it right. And I'm going to love them harder than anyone else, which means I'm going to love until we get to the win. I'm going to love until we get to the outcome. But I also have the experience. I have the strategy. I know how to build a 7-figure. I know how to build a 6-figure. I know how to build multiple. I know how to ... And it's like, sometimes you just have to be in a place where you trust yourself. You trust yourself so ridiculously that it's actually crazy. You feel crazy. You know how many times on this journey I felt crazy? Ooh. You know how many times on this journey I felt crazy? That was for every moment that I've ever felt crazy and alone. You know how many times on this journey I felt crazy? Listen, I felt so crazy because I had to stand so alone and I had so many people hating on me for the decisions I was making because it's like, Tiffany, you can make so much more money if you just do these 3 things. And I was like, yeah, but that's not the right thing to do by the people. Because what would happen is that I would win, but everybody else that I was selling to would lose. I'm not about that life, guys. That don't feel good. That doesn't feel good. So now we're on a different journey outside of taking the center stage. This training was supposed to be about taking the center stage. And if you've gotten here, you and I are here together, and I am 100% with the gentleman's bottle, and I'm 100% sharing my thoughts, my feelings, sure, but my lessons. Success leaves clues. I have a long way to go, and I have so much to growing. But for somebody, I know that something I'm sharing will help you conquer what is happening today, what happened yesterday, and will help you get further tomorrow. Because if I can help you get further tomorrow, then that's really the whole goal. I need to help you get further faster because I wish there was a me. I swear to you, and that's probably the second thing. So the first was me not sharing my story faster, me not taking the center stage faster, first regret. And me not selling to me not being clear that the whole world was ready for me, even though I didn't feel ready for me. The second thing is that I wish I had hunted for a me. I was so intimidated by people like me because they didn't really feel like they loved me or cared about me or saw me. And I really took to a back seat in terms of finding people who look like me. But that's what crippled me because I wanted to ask questions, but I'd be like, and I'd put my hand down, and then I put my hand down. I'd be like, I'm not going to ask a question. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything else. And, Tuesday turned into Thursday, turned into Friday, turned to next Saturday, next Sunday. And before I knew it, I still had the questions. I didn't know what to do. And I was with that. Me taking the center stage, and the reason why center stage is so important to me in this conversation. And if you're watching this, yes, I'm wholeheartedly encouraging you to come to the center stage, sure, but really to the stage, thestageevent.com. And this is whether you're watching this now or years from now, it'll still be the same thing. I for sure said to myself a handful of times, like, man, I wish I had hunted for a me, but I was too insecure to hunt for a me. People have the answers. Don't spend time. Like the biggest regret is me wasting time and not spending time with my daughters, not spending time with my children, not spending time with inside of other relationships, even in my marriage at that point. Like I wish I had spent some time, not wish, but I could see where I spent time not having answers. But the second that I made a decision to start paying for the information, start being around people who had already figured out, start being near people who had already made those accomplishments in their life, the world opened up times 100. Like the world got so much bigger. And I realized I need to just go and pay for the information, which is why live events are so awesome. For $200 to $500, you can attend so many live events around the world and get a ton of information in 3 days. If you just get 2 nuggets from it and you go back and you put it to use, you win. If you just to get 2 things that change the game, you win. Like you off to the races. I 100% I want to tell you, and I want to tell you again, that pay for the information as much as you can. Don't manage other people's insecurities. Make a decision to love yourself harder, bigger than anyone else. Don't walk in telling your story or sharing your story. Run. Be clear that your mission and your objective is to do the damn thing. Be clear that you're here for a reason. Like, oh, but Tiffany, I just want to learn how to make money. Yes, make money, but learn that you're here for a reason. Because if you learn why you're here, then making money will be so much easier. If you haven't liked or shared this or commented, please take the time to do so now. If you need help and you're like, Tiffany, I don't know how you can help me, but I think you can help me do something. Maybe it's because of my red lipstick and you're like that color and you're like, you know what, this color will really help. Whatever it might be, I'm going to ask you to make a decision to DM me, whatever that might be. I'm so excited and grateful that I've had the luxury of being able to be here with you at this moment. I have loved it. I hope that I have served you. And yes, the somehow X amount of hour training is coming soon. Stay tuned. And if you're not on our list, crush it with yourstory.com. See ya. Bye.